Hello everybody. I am back with another video. Sorry it's been so long. If you do hear any background noises in this video, I did recently get an air conditioning for my room, so that's why. I had one, but it's a bit too hot here. Here's our 15Z surface analysis though. Um, and at 15Z, we had a low pressure centered across kind of northern Illinois along with that triple point. At this point, it's probably progressed into portions of Indiana and Ohio. We'll see an 18Z update with it shortly, probably within the next few minutes or so. Maybe we'll see it by the end of the video, but there's that. We have potential tropical cyclone 3 down here with 45 mile-an-hour wind gusts, or mile per hour, not knots. And you can see this cold front here break severe potential today. If we do look at the Storm Prediction Center's page, today we have an enhanced risk of severe weather from areas east of Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska, all the way into Cleveland, Ohio. Some of the bigger cities in this risk include Peoria, Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, Indianapolis, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Cincinnati, Kentucky, or Ohio, not Kentucky, sorry, Columbus, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, Akron, Ohio, um, and yeah, we have a slight risk surrounding that, and a couple other marginals, one in the High Plains, and then one in Minnesota, and one in the Gulf Coast. We have 5% tornado risk. This is going to include portions of Ohio and Indiana and northern Kentucky. We also have a 30% significant chance for damaging wind gusts. This is going to include portions of Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. We have a 30% chance of significant large hail, with a 15 hatched in all the way into Indiana. Portions of areas in the 30 hatched include Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri. Primary threats today are going to be widespread damaging wind gusts with isolated significant damaging wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour, widespread large, scattered potentially widespread large hailstones with isolated very large hailstones up to 3 inches in diameter, and a couple to potentially a few tornadoes will be possible, maybe a stronger one depending upon how today evolves. Tomorrow we have a slight risk to a couple areas actually. One for potential tropical cyclone 3 in the Gulf that's expected to have a few split up tornadoes along with it. Another one out in High Plains. We have a 2-torn in the Midwest, also with the marginal risk. So we have a 2-torn in the Midwest, and then a 5 with the cyclone, 5 wind, and a 15 hash wind. We also do have a 15 hail and a 5 wind and a 5 hail. I do think a slight will be added somewhere in the Midwest into the Northeast for tomorrow as well. Day 3, again, potential tropical cyclone. 3 could have a risk of severe weather, but this time looks like a pretty significant severe weather event could be on tap for the Midwest. And I know this is only a marginal, but they only have this at a marginal due to confidence concerns. At this point, when they made the outlook, it's like 7:30Z. They had the 6Z runs in, and they were not really agreeing with each other much at all. And now the new runs with the 12Zs have came in, and they're starting to agree more. So I do think a slight to enhance is possible for this event on the line. Definitely a slight though. And I'm not going to be home for this day. I'm going to be going down to Missouri, so of course it has to happen when I'm not home. Currently on mesoscale analysis, if we check the mixed layer Cape, there isn't as much across portions of Illinois because a couple thunderstorms came from Iowa and kind of disrupted the instability a little bit in the destabilization process. We do have widespread Cape, though, starting to really infect into Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. And Illinois still has plenty of time. We're probably not going to see storm initiation for a while, so that's good. Deep layer shear across the region is at 30 to 50 knots, depending upon your location. We also have effective bulk shear of up to 60 knots in some areas. We have a low-level jet of 10 to 30 knots. And then we have, we have a 3-cape bullseye starting to appear in northern Iowa. This will progress into Ohio and areas like that as we go throughout the day. A 3-cape and vorticity bullseye, I should say. Lots of lapse rates across Illinois. That's going to provide the potential for some very large hail later on, and low level lapse rates and low instability overall is starting to increase across the area. Let's look at surface observations right now. Currently, we have upper 80s to mid some 70s, some 80s, and some 90s, along with a couple areas in the 90-degree range, dew points widespread across the region in the upper 60s to lower 70s, and even mid 70s in some spots. If you do look at the map here right now, for central Illinois, we do have temperatures getting a little bit above 80 degrees now. We have some sunlight trying to peek through these clouds that are currently around. Across portions of Indiana, we have a complex of thunderstorms that are forming. Some of these could go severe, but the watch chance is not likely with it. Let's go on to pivotal weather here and kind of simulate what we can see later on today. I'm not going to really try to use too many models for today. We're just going to use the HRR, we'll just use it, see what can happen later today. We're going to use the forecast, loop. So later today, this is going to be in about 30 minutes. And the HRR actually was not picking up on that convection in Indiana, so we'll see how that plays out with it. Here is in a couple of hours there, 22Z, 23. We'll likely see storms from a little bit earlier than what the HRR showing, probably more or less 20Z, 21, 22, something like that. At this point, the HRR fires a lone storm in Ohio with a semi-decent environment. The HRR has not been great recently, so we'll look at other models along with it to complement it. But looks like it could have some potential for large hail and damaging winds. Around 1Z, we start to really see a linear cluster get intact across this region down here. And that starts to go off with maybe some tornado threat in northeastern Ohio here. Yeah, it could be some tornado threat there, depending upon if it's surface-based or not. Around 4Z, we start to see convection fire along the cold front stationary boundary in Illinois. 5Z, it really starts to get going, and then I get a supercell quarter right over my house at 6Z. If we take some soundies there right in front of there, you see here, mainly a wind and hail threat with this thing. Maybe some small tornado threat, which is why they have the 2% over there, but not very high. And then you can see another round of storm starts firing behind the thing. Let's look at your simulated UHI tracks just to see what they're showing. I mean, that's what they have so far. Let's look at the different model. Let's look at the model spreads. Look at the 16Z each bar because it's fully loaded. You can see here. That's the holistic. We're gonna look from model to model. We're gonna do a comparison of all models selected. We're gonna make a GIF. This is gonna take a second. So there's between most models. Most models show pretty decent tracks across the central Illinois. Most models are agreeing on an area right in here for severe weather today, and they're also agreeing on an area right in here on severe weather today as well. Now, I'm not going to focus too much on the other risks with this, but we do have potential for a pretty amplified risk. We do have a potential for a pretty amplified risk tomorrow, which we'll talk about right now. Tomorrow across Ohio, could be some risk across the Midwest tomorrow as well. It's not very high, but we might see a slight for wind added with stuff like this. Nah, that's not slight wind really. I'll check the Northeast and see if there's anything noteworthy there. There's potential for some damaging wind gusts along with this stuff tomorrow in the Northeast. But I think it might actually stay marginal looking closer at this. But now it's like at Sunday. Sunday could be a pretty big day across the Midwest depending upon a few mesoscale factors. Sunday has the potential of being a day to really watch across the Midwest. Here's a look at 21Z on the NAM nest, and you can see here a lot of instability has been built up across the area. We have a warm front that's stationed across here. It could be a focal point for severe weather. Let's look at the dew point chart and just look at analyze this. So it seems like there isn't really defined. Looks like there's a surface low probably in here. It's a very weak surface low, but it's there. Looks like you have a warm front kind of extending down from it. We'll just put the circle around the low because that's what we always do. Looks like we have a cold front extending down from it, like right here. And you also have a warm front that's pretty much like this. And then you have winds at the due southeast region right in here, setting up a pretty significant setup here. Let's take a block sounding across that warm front there in Wisconsin and Illinois just to see what it shows. And my goodness, that is a very amplified environment at 21Z, ready to produce tornadoes if this is correct. You see surface winds in the south with some decent clip to them. You have a lot of veering in the low levels. The upper levels, I will say, they aren't the most veer, but they aren't perpendicular to the boundary, so you're probably going to get more. You're probably going to get the storms to go off the boundary and ride the warm front potentially further northbound. We also see we have good 3K with the sounding. We have a very large and embedded photograph there, with a lot of turning with it. We have a pretty decent thermodynamic profile as well, along with some good thermals here. We have some decent 3K. We have some good kinematics too. I'm gonna save this something for later. And kind of just looking at it, it looks pretty good. To say the least. Let's look to see what the convection is doing at this point. So the convection at this point hasn't fired off. It fires off around 22Z, pretty widespread. Take some more soundings out ahead of it, and they're pretty decent. 23Z, we see a lot more widespread convection start firing across the region, and still some pretty good soundings. And then we get to 0Z, and we see pretty decent convection firing across Ohio, too. There's going to be a risk across Ohio. It could be pretty significant, or not Ohio, Michigan. It could be pretty significant that NAM actually shows it being a lot more significant than what the NAM 3K shows. It shows the low pressure being all the way over here, which is a possibility. We'll just have to monitor it. If you take a box sending across southern Ohio, waiting for that convection to fire, it's pretty dang good. Look at that. Very, very good box sending there. Look at 3Z, you definitely get the convection to fire all the way down the warm front. If you do take a sounding here at 3Z along the surface low there, with the dam, you definitely get this potential for tornadoes still, if that is correct. See a nice little area of severe weather just develop all the way down the cold front. Maybe some discrete storms, I don't know, maybe some probably more linear if the NAM solution does come out true, and then a lot of heavy rain for the south. Now let's end up looking into that tropical cyclone risk a little bit. We have a risk for pretty substantial risk for not substantial, but we have a risk for tornadoes with the tropical cyclone. That's what I'll say right now. This is Saturday morning. We do see a few storms that start to fire with the low pressure. We'll probably see an insurgence Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon across kind of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia with that tropical cyclone. But if we do go back to Saturday, looking at this, definitely showing the potential for severe weather. We have these bands. Let's use the regular reflectivity look. We have the tropical slope. We have the tropical what's this tropical cyclone here. We have these bands of tornadic activity right here. These are going to probably be tornadic at this point. Let's just take a box and just make sure they could be tornadic. And these definitely could be tornadic with a photograph like that. You don't have the best deep layer shear, and you don't have the best instability either. But partly probably because I have that box a bit too big. Let's make it something like that for the southern bands, because those are gonna be the more tornadic ones. And there you go. It's a bit better. You have more instability in the low levels. You have higher shear as well, and that's gonna be something to monitor. Is the potential for mini supercell thunderstorms along the bands of this, and if that's a pretty decent individual sounding there as well with the tropical cyclone. But there's going to be a lot of Gulf moisture that gets surrounded with this thing, and looking at the wind barbs here, we see more backed winds across portions of across the Alabama there. It creates its own little, not really warm front per se, but it creates its own little front, the tropical cyclone. It has more southeasterly winds and more easterlies further north. Well, that's definitely something to watch there. Especially, really looks like this is going to be your area to watch for tornadoes. I do think tornadoes are possible further to the east. The day previous, which can be today. I'm actually looking at today's risk. We do have a risk of tornadoes across lower Louisiana today. Taking a sounding there. Not really that great at this point, so we'll just look see what it shows. Probably more of an off-land risk, actually, if the NSSL verifies. Yeah, maybe more of a southern Florida risk. Yeah, southern Florida could be into it later today. We'll have to watch southern Florida, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, those kind of areas, just to see what happens with that. Low pressure could see a risk for tornadoes with that as well. Looking at weather bell, we're gonna go into the instantaneous flash with the Euro. I'm probably gonna end this one here. So here's what the Euro has to show for this afternoon. It definitely, okay, so it fires convection around 21Z, and then it fires another round across Illinois later tonight. There's the tropical cyclone there with some lightning, and then there's tomorrow across the Midwest. I'm interested to see what it shows for Sunday, the 12-0. So for Sunday, it wants a pretty big MCS complex instead of supercells. Which, I mean, actually I can't say it doesn't. Well, this is more of a low-res model, so it may want more supercell storms as well, too. But it looks like it's multiple days of thunderstorms across the southeast, maybe some more organized days, we'll see. Here isn't fully loaded yet, but that's what that run has to show. Also, here's current satellite imagery across the Midwest. We do have some clouds that have came into Illinois and portions of Indiana with this. There was higher instability before. There is higher instability than there was earlier. I will say that. There was only like 1,000. It's 1,500. It's taken away about 1,000, about 500 to 1,000 joules per kilogram. Now, these clouds are really letting up now, and the sun is starting to come out. This destabilization is also starting to occur in Indiana ahead of actually some developing thunderstorms that weren't even supposed to be there. Also, Ohio could be a risk to play on later today, and Michigan, we'll have to really watch that. Yeah, I think I'm done for this one. Just stay safe over the next few days. We'll actually go into the weather prediction center first before we actually finish this out. Because there are a couple things I want to I'll talk to you about. We have a moderate risk of flash flooding today across the Midwest and the South, and then tomorrow across the South as well. Day 3, a slight and a marginal in the Midwest. Very heavy rainfall is expected across portions of the Midwest and into the southern United States over these next few days. Turn around and don't drown if you're on the road and see a flooded road. Especially with these flash floods, and also storm surge could be a problem with 90 potential tropical cyclone 3. It's currently at 45 mile per hour, 1,007 or 1,007 millibars there. Currently, there's your cone. And then if we switch over, here is here's rainfall that's expected. 10 to 15 inches is expected across portions of the Mobile area. Widespread, 4 to 6 inches across most of these areas as well. Looking at wind probabilities, the potential for tropical storm probabilities exists across Mississippi, Alabama. We have tropical storm warnings there, and even into maybe Georgia, we'll see potential for tropical storm winds, but that looks pretty low right now. Arrival time of these winds, it looks like later tonight we're going to see arrival time across Louisiana, and then Saturday we'll see arrival time across Mississippi and Alabama. And that'll do it for this one, though. Tune back in for more updates, and I'll see you all in the next one.